You know, it's interesting because I never did qualify myself as a maker. I found the term a little bit too trendy, and me being the contrarian that I am, you know, I always went against things that are popular. If it's popular, I was against it. It's just the way I am. Now, in the meantime, does it hurt me because I'm not calling myself a maker? No, I don't think so. I don't necessarily call myself a woodworker either. I don't, I tend not to label myself. I make stuff, I do things, I build stuff. I build it. As far as if it's leveling off, yes, it definitely is. I mentioned to you before about Parks and Rec, that television program was canceled or ran its course. I never did watch the show. I watched a couple episodes, I think it was, and that was it. The character on there, Ron Swanson, I think he made woodworking cooler to younger people than it actually is. Because, you know, for a long while there, it didn't matter what you made. If it got a number of views, you know, if it got any significant number of views, you're going to get comments, people comparing you to Ron Swanson. So that might be a big part of it, that show not being around, that character not being around, that influence on young people, like I say, making woodworking seem cooler than it actually is. But it's like everything else that people latch onto. It goes in cycles. Like you can't expect something to last forever at the same popularity. Nothing does. I mean, I made a comparison to television shows before. Even the most popular ones, you know, they run for maybe 6, 7, 8 seasons, and that's it. The audience just loses interest in the story overall. They know that. Like, it doesn't matter if you introduce new characters to it, it just doesn't feel fresh anymore. So maybe that's the case with the topic of woodworking and making things in general. Maybe the majority of the audience that was watching that stuff have moved on to other things that have caught their attention more readily. And then there's the volume of stuff that's already out there and already produced. And, you know, I've done quite a bit of it. You've done quite a bit of it. So doing it again, you know, you can't really go back to the well on those things. And it's getting harder and harder and harder to come up with something that's unique and something that's, you know, that people haven't seen already or are going to discount because it looks too much like something else they already saw. You know, like we both made videos on how to make dowels, and both of those videos have well over 1 million. I think mine has something like 3 million views by now. And there's just no way that if you made that video now, it would get that number of views. It just wouldn't happen because there's so many of those out there now. Over the past year, this feeling has been growing that wasn't there before. Not when I started, not for a year, not for 2 years, not for 3 years after I was doing this. That never happened. But over the past year, I've been steadily getting the feeling that the sand is washing out under my feet here. So, you know, I had the idea of building a new shop, and I just don't know if I did that I would, is it sustainable? Is this moving forward? Will I make enough money to even support that kind of a thing? So, you know, everything goes on hold. You got to kind of retreat. And I think the fans sense that a little bit too, because, you know, when I started doing this, I just made videos and I put them up there, and it was totally, you know, garbage, half of the stuff. But a lot of people didn't see that. All they saw was the energy that went into the project itself. I think they picked up on that. And what they're picking up on now is kind of that reticence, I guess, you have from doing things that may cost money or, you know, might take too long. I know that a lot of the things that I've been doing over the past year, I've been really weighing whether they're worth the effort. And this is something I've also noticed, and I don't know if this just applies to me, because I generally don't respond to the emails. But the offers that I was getting before for sponsorships and that kind of stuff have basically dried up. So it used to be that if times got truly hard, then that could be a fallback position. You know, you would take on more paid promotions or whatever. But for at least for me, I don't know about anybody else, but those things have disappeared.